Good day, viewers, and welcome to another OnsideSA soccer show. Paul is away on business in Cape Town, and joining me shortly will be our UK correspondent Stevie Bram from his Fulham studio. But we kick off, as always, with our last one standing soccer competition, and going into week 8 we had 3 entries. 2 were successful. Moonwall had Chelsea, who outplayed Tottenham Hotspurs, and Lawrence Werner squeaked through when Aston Villa held on against Everton. Bruce Armstrong was our unfortunate victim, where Leeds United, who should have won in the first half, conceded a terrible free kick and they went out. Our next round is on the 8th, 9th and 10th of February, and on that weekend our final last one standing competition for the season will start. Our 2 ladies continued trying to get the £1,000 voucher from Sector Apparel. Catherine Armstrong and Michelle Tovey will carry on with that fight. I'm now going across to our Stevie Bram in our Fulham studio to see what he knows about the weekend. Steve, good morning.
Morning, Budge.
No big games this weekend. Well, for us in the Championship you are, but the international break, how come it's on now?
Yeah, well, it's really for mainly sort of South America and Asia. So
Okay.
Obviously there's a number of, not that many, but a number of players obviously over to South America and North America to play, but not enough that it's disrupting the Football League. But the Premier League have obviously decided that especially with clubs got players out at the Afghan, that they obviously feel that it was only right that they let them have the week off. So some of them have taken advantage. They've gone for sort of warm weather training abroad, and others have just given players a few days off.
Okay. Steve, mentioned the Premiership. 2 managerial appointments, or 1 at Watford. Your brother, is he happy with Roy Hodgson?
Yeah, well, I think, Roy, I think the jury's out a little bit, but he's never been relegated. I mean, he came when he came to Fulham, we were sort of one from bottom, and he's, saved us on the last day. And the same with West Brom and Crystal Palace, sort of took over when they were not doing well. So they're obviously hopeful that he can just do enough to keep them up, but he's got a big job. He's obviously got, after that performance, which was shocking against Norwich, he's really got to sort of galvanise them and get them playing as a team.
Yeah, well, let's hope he does it. But as usual, Watford, the Italian owners, they always seem to make a change. Now, what is going on at Everton? I saw this morning fans aren't happy with Vitor Pereira, the Porto manager. What's the latest, Steve?
Yeah, well, they seem to think that it's between him and Frank Lampard. And Vitor Pereira, it's very strange. I was watching a press conference. Recorded yesterday, but I watched it this morning, where he was sort of justifying he thinks he's good enough to be the Everton, but I don't think a lot of the Everton are convinced. So it could be an appointment that if he is appointed, if the fans are not on side straight away, that does well.
Yeah. It's interesting that they fancy Lampard, but there again, he played good football. They've got a lot of good young Evertonians, so maybe that's the way the fans are looking at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting that they obviously want to make a decision quite quickly.
Yeah.
Duncan Ferguson, some people are thinking they should give him longer because he obviously sort of, has the support of the fans.
Yeah.
But it looks like they may well make a decision this week.
Okay. Steve, the catch-up fixtures, I know Tottenham and Burnley have got a few. How are they? Do you think there's a chance they'll play 4 fixtures in a week?
I guess in a way for Tottenham, it's fortunate they're out of Europe, because otherwise they really would have a problem. Burnley, again, are out of all the cups. They could probably fit it in, but it depends who their games are against. Because if they're scheduled to be playing against teams who, for example, are still in the cup, are still in Europe, then it is going to be a bit tight. And I think we know the season can't be extended, so. If it ends up that in 1 week, particularly, they've got to play 2 games, so be it. And I think that's just something that they have to accept. But at the moment, as I say, Burnley particularly have got so many games in hand. It's crazy.
Yeah. Steve, we're going to go on to the Championship fixtures for the weekend. It kicks off on Friday with Huddersfield against Stoke City. How do you see that going?
Yeah, I mean, Stoke played very well against us, but I was sort of surprised that they lost at Coventry. If you look at the league position, I mean, they're quite a few points off a playoff place.
Yeah.
Huddersfield had a good result last week. I mean, conceded goals but scored 4 away. I fancy that Huddersfield might just edge that. I don't think they'll lose at home to Stoke.
Yeah, I watched Stoke City beat Hull City. You know, I was hoping for goals, but that's the only game they've won in 6. You know, I know Fulham beat them the other day, but you guys had a couple of people missing, and Huddersfield only lost 1 at home. So I agree. Of the 2 teams, I like Huddersfield, but you know, it's Friday night, good game for us. But you know, I like the look of 15-10 Huddersfield. Now, one team has gone completely pear-shaped is Bournemouth. They cost me big time last week. Is 8-10 a good price against Barnsley?
Well, I mean, Barnsley are sort of rock bottom and, you know, having a shocking run. I think if Bournemouth can't win that game, then, you know, really are struggling. I fancy Bournemouth will bounce back and win that. Barnsley just, you know, look as if they're really are relegation bound. Unless they can find some form, which they haven't shown recently, I would be surprised if Bournemouth don't go there and get a result. Yeah,
3 points from the last 10 league games, Barnsley, but they have drawn the last 2 at home, which will give them a glimmer of hope. But I agree, I think Bournemouth will be too good. Now, your Fulham boys won the last 4, scoring umpteen goals. Another home victory?
It should be. I mean, we are without a few players. I mean, we've actually got 2, obviously as well as Seri at the AFCON, but we've lost Robinson and Bobby Decordova-Reid for international call-ups. Okay. We're hopeful that Mitrovic and Wilson will be back, and 1 or 2 sort of defensive injuries. But I think, you know, we did have the option to call the game off, because if you have 3 international call-ups, you can. But I think they're quite keen to play it. So I think we'll win, but I don't think you know, we're going to be scoring 6 or 7s. I think it'll be closer, and I'd be happy with that. Any win at this moment in time, you know, keeps that gap at the top.
Yeah, I think you win easy, Steve. Blackpool lost their last 3, only won from the last 4 away games. 1-3. It's even money. Fulham to win by more than 1, so that's my play there. Now, Hull City, Swansea City. Hull City, I can't believe they've won the last 2 games under their new ownership. They beat Blackburn, and then they beat Bournemouth. Surely 15-10 is a big price.
Yeah, then they sacked their manager, Grant McCann. Evidently, I think the owners want a Turkish manager. So, you know, you just wonder what's going to happen there. I think the fans are a little bit disappointed because, you know, those are 2 huge wins. Yeah. Having said that, I watched Swansea play at QPR the other night, and they were superb. They were a team.
Yes.
Especially as QPR had won 4 in a row. So you don't know what's going to happen. You know, with Hull, you know, sacking the manager like that may just sort of unsettle them a little bit. I fancy Swansea. I think they've not had the best season, but they look really good at QPR. And I just wonder if they might take advantage of the little bit of turmoil going on at Hull and get a result.
Yeah, I must say, I watched the game too. They were the better side, well organised. I just thought their build-up play was a little bit slow, but they took the sting out of QPR. And I must say, originally, I didn't know that the manager got fired, Grant McCann, but if that's the case, then I don't blame you. Swansea are definitely 2-1 is definitely worth an interest. Now we go on to our second page where Luton Town against Blackburn. You know, I backed Blackburn on Monday and I couldn't believe the odds kept drifting until I realised their Chilean striker wasn't there. You know, I thought they got lucky towards the end.
Yeah.
You know, Luton have come well.
Yeah, I mean, Ben Brereton, they have. I mean, obviously, they won again this week. Their previous home game, they beat Bournemouth. I think that they will definitely get a result and hold Blackburn at least. So, you know, I think for us that would be a good result if Luton could hold Blackburn. I'm not sure whether they'll beat them, but they could. I mean, let's say they've had a good run recently, and I would be not at all surprised if they either beat them or certainly hold them.
Yeah, I agree. I watched them beat Bournemouth 3-2. It was an excellent game, and they've won 4 of the last 6, so they've got to have a shot. But I think both teams to score is my play there, but any result's possible. Now, Middlesbrough, I thought, could have sneaked a point the other day. Will they be too good at home against Coventry City?
I think so. I think that, I mean, until they lost recently, they'd won 6 and drawn 1.
Yeah.
So, you know, and they're definitely up. I fancy them to win that. Coventry don't travel that well, although they did win last time out at Peterborough, but before that they hadn't been on the road for a little while. So I fancy Middlesbrough. They're starting to play well.
Yeah, I agree. They won the last 4 at home, and they do look ominous to try and get a playoff spot. Now the next game I can't get my head around, Moonwall versus West Brom. You know, Moonwall have only lost 1 at home, and that was to Nottingham Forest, where West Brom have only won 1 of the last 9 away from home. I watched them, they got beat 2-0 last night by my boys Preston. 27-10 Moonwall looks a big price, Steve. What do you think?
I think so. I think Millwall are definitely strong enough at home to hold West Brom. It's going to be. I think it's the sort of game. It's going to be end to end, a lot of long balls. But I think Millwall can certainly hold them. And West Brom just really, if you look at their record in the last couple of months, they've really got off the boil, and they're a few points adrift now of getting near an automatic place.
Yeah, manager getting booed off the pitch last night on the Sky this morning, and that doesn't bode well. Now, the team that beat them last night is my hometown team, Preston. I'm just worried about Bristol City. Bristol City score a lot of goals. I know they concede a lot. 8-10 Preston's a bit short, even though we should win. How do you see it?
I agree. I think you probably should win. Bristol City, their away form hasn't been that bad, although recently they've lost a few. And obviously, a couple of weeks ago they conceded 6 at Fulham, but they lost during the week at Luton. And I think Preston could be buoyed by that result. So I think part of that, as you know better than me, they're so inconsistent. They can win at places like Bournemouth, and they win at West Brom, and then they go and slip up at home. But I would say of the two, Preston definitely favourites. Yeah, let's hope so. We need a good run to try and sneak into the playoffs. On to our final page, we've got QPR. I was disappointed in against a Reading team who just can't seem to buy a win of late. QPR too good? I think they will be. I think that they'll probably be disappointed they dropped points during the week. But Reading are having a terrible run, and obviously with their 6-point deduction, they really are in trouble. They're conceding a huge amount of goals. They had Andy Carroll, as you know, on loan, but then because of issues with bringing players in, he's training with them, but he can't play for them at the moment. So I think QPR should be too strong. Yeah, my only concern was watching QPR. Their home form isn't the greatest. They've only won 1 of the last 4, but Reading have been woeful, so you'd expect QPR. Now, Peterborough versus Sheffield United, Steve. I fancy Sheffield United. I know Peterborough, they're 2 up at Birmingham and midweek, threw it away. I think they've only won 1 of the last 12. Is 12-10 a good price, Sheffield United? Yeah, I think they should be too strong. Peterborough slipped up at home in their last home game. They lost 4-1 at home to Coventry. I think Sheffield United, who lost recently, I think they'll bounce back and they'll get a result there. And again, there's still a few points adrift. Sheffield United, I think they're going to need. These are the sort of games they have to win if they want to get close to a playoff place. Yeah. Okay. Now, Derby County. When I had a look at their results, I think there's only 5 teams that have lost more games than Derby. 13-10, Steve. I fancy them to beat Birmingham City. How do you see it? I think so. Obviously there's a lot of upheaval going on there, and they're teetering on the brink because they could definitely run out of money in the next month if there isn't a buyer. They lost. They're not allowed to bring any players in. So when the short-term loan for Phil Jagielka expired a couple of weeks ago, they couldn't re-sign him, and he left and went to Stoke. I think Wayne Rooney's doing an incredible job. In all honesty, to sort of to keep them as close as they are. They're 8 points adrift when you think they had 21 points deducted. Birmingham, you just don't know what you're going to get with them. They obviously fought back in the end and got 2 late goals during the week, but they've had a bad run and their fans are very unhappy. I think of the 2, Derby should edge it. Yeah, I like Derby. They've won 4 and lost 1 of the lot, and that was only to QPR, and QPR scored in injury time. Derby County, I'm all over them for the weekend. And last but not least, Cardiff City against Notts Forest. I can't believe Notts Forest are 18-10 here, especially with the form they're in. How do you see it, Steve? Forest are really in form. Cardiff, if you look at their record, particularly at home, it really is shocking. I would have thought, unless Cardiff can find some form, which they haven't shown, I think Forest will go there and get a result. All right. Steve, before I get into your best bet and value bet, AFCON, who do you fancy to win it? Well, as I said to you earlier, I thought Ivory Coast were going to be a strong contender, but obviously they went out last night. Cameroon are obviously still favourites because they're at home. But I was impressed with Egypt. They made themselves, they can be hard to beat.
Yeah.
So you're not sure we're going to get, but I think Cameroon probably still just edging as favourites.
Yeah. My only worry about it with Cameroon is they haven't really played any decent teams. And they've cruised through the competition. I know it's obviously be easier on their legs and they're playing at home. But if they should get through, they get the winner of Egypt or Morocco, then that's going to be a little bit difficult because they are a bit woeful at the back. I still fancy Senegal, haven't conceded a goal the whole competition. If it does get to the crux of the matter, Mane up front, Koulibaly, Mendy in goals. I think I saw 3-1 Senegal. So that's who I fancy. Steve, on to the weekend. Your best bet and value bet, please.
I'm going to go for Middlesbrough as my best bet. Okay. I just think that at home they're going to be too strong. And value bet, just only because they're sort of quite a high price, I'm going to go for Swansea. I was pleasantly surprised with how well they played the other night. And I think that they might just take advantage of the situation with Hull having sacked their manager, even though they've had a good, decent run.
Yeah, well, I'm going for Derby County as my best bet, Steve. I think 13-10, I'm all over them. And I like Notts Forest. I know the only time they got beat was at Middlesbrough, and that's when I backed them. But I just think 18-10 is a good price against a team that's lost 9 of the last 10 at home. So those are my two bets. Steve, FA Cup next week, so a lot to talk about. But let's hope Fulham get a result.
And in the meantime, Newcastle are still linked with goodness knows how many players. We're going to bring any of them in between now and deadline day remains to be seen. They're obviously trying very hard, and but it seems to be all the players that they've been linked with in the last couple of days. I'm hearing now that doesn't look like deal's going to be done with them. So we'll see. Yeah,
I see Dele Alli and Lingard. Martial's gone to Seville. But well, I saw there was something about was it a centre half from Lyon, a Brazilian, 35.
Well, evidently so. So yesterday there was a quick news flash to say Newcastle have agreed a fee with Lyon for Bruno Guimaraes, a midfielder, and Lyon have come out and said absolutely not. They've agreed no fee at all. And then Seville are saying that they don't really want to sell Diego Carlos to Newcastle because they're literally for the first time in many, many years, they're chasing down a La Liga title. They really don't want to sell their best defender. So you don't know. We get obviously all the paper talk here, but you don't really know whether it's when you hear the Spanish side of it, that they're coming up with sort of slightly different take on it. So money talks, and you can see why both Bruno Guimaraes and Diego Carlos want to come to the UK because their wages are going to get doubled or trebled. Yeah. So and that's what it is basically. I can't believe somebody wants to leave Sevilla at this stage of the season going for La Liga title other than for money.
Yeah, so, I agree. And also Newcastle, if it was Man City or Liverpool or one of the bigger teams, you'd say okay, but Newcastle, that's going to be a long haul. But what can we do?
So anyway, it remains to be seen. But by the time we talk next week, it'll all be done.
All right. Steve, thanks again very much for your help. All the best. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Steve. That's our UK correspondent, Stevie Braham, as knowledgeable as ever. We now go through to the 4 Afghan quarterfinals, and I'll go through it. Gambia against Cameroon. Cameroon, the host, looking ominous, scoring goals, but I must say I've been impressed with Gambia. Yeah, they did beat Tunisia 1-0 earlier in the competition, and they stuck out Guinea. Wasn't the best of performances, but the knockout is all about getting through. 5-10 Cameroon. I think they'll go through. A little bit short, but Cameroon should get through. The next game, Burkina Faso against Tunisia. I was really disappointed in Tunisia early on. The only team they beat was a poor Mauritania side. They sneaked into third place to get as one of the 4th best playoff teams. And then they beat Nigeria, played great, and I think they'll get through Burkina Faso. I think it'll be a very tight game. Under 2.5 looks the right play. I fancy Tunisia, even though the draw at 2-1 should be the right play. Egypt, Morocco, what a humdinger. I fancy Morocco from the jump, but the only reason why I haven't backed them is they're in a difficult bracket. They've now got Egypt. If they beat Egypt, they've got the Cameroon-Gambia winner, and then Senegal in the final. This is another tight game. You can see by the betting. But in our man, the king of Egypt, Salah, can't trust him. So you can trust him, and it's going to be a tight game. Wouldn't surprise me if it goes to penalty again, but my suggestion, under 2.5 goals, while the draw's a massive player. And Senegal, the only way they're going to get beat in this competition, in my opinion, is on penalties. Great lineup in the team, 5-10 to beat Equatorial Guinea, who I watched last night, beat Mali on penalties. It should be Senegal, but you just never know. My outright winner is, I saw 5-2, 3-1 Senegal, so that's going to be my play. On to our weekend exotics, and we kick off with the Soccer 6 in England. It's a championship. I'm bankering Bournemouth to beat Barnsley. I'm going the field in the Hull City Swansea City game. Likewise, Luton Town versus Blackburn Rovers. I think Middlesbrough will be too good for Coventry. I've gone Moonwall, win and draw at home against West Brom. And I've thrown the draw in with Preston North End at home against Bristol City, 2-1-6. The other Soccer 6, I'm bankering Cameroon to beat Gambia. I don't see Sheffield United losing to Peterborough. I've gone the field in the Burkina Faso Tunisia game. I'm bankering Derby to beat Birmingham City. The Egypt-Morocco game will be very tight. And I don't see Senegal losing to Equatorial Guinea. So I've thrown the draw and looking for the upset, 2-1-6. On to our Soccer 10, I'm bankering Bournemouth to beat Barnsley, Fulham to beat Blackpool, the field in the Hull City, Swansea City, and Luton Town versus Blackburn Rovers fixtures. I'm bankering Middlesbrough to be too good at home against Coventry City. On to the second page, I'm going Moonwall, win and draw against West Brom. Preston North End, win and draw at home against Bristol City. I'm bankering Queen's Park Rangers to beat Reading, and ending up with Sheffield Wednesday, win and draw against Ipswich Town, and Wycombe Wanderers, win and draw at home against MK Dons, 288. On to our budgies bets for the weekend, but a little bit limited with the actual selections. I'm going Derby County to beat Birmingham City, Notts Forest to beat Cardiff City, and Fulham to beat Blackpool, and over 2.5 total goals. 2,300 to 200. My match bet and both teams to score sides are Fulham and Derby County. Fulham to beat Blackpool and Derby to beat Birmingham City, and both teams to score, or all 4 teams to score, 16 to 1, 3,200 to 200. On to our next page, our team goals only. I'm going Fulham to score over 2.5 goals, and Derby County and Notts Forest to score over 1.5 goals, 2,800 to 200. Both teams to score sides are Luton Town Blackburn, Moonwall West Brom, Preston Bristol City, and QPR Reading, 10 to 1, so 2,000 to 200 was our play. The English League One continues this weekend, so I've got a quad for us. I'm going Wigan to beat Cheltenham, Sunderland to beat Bolton Wanderers, and both teams to score in the Accrington Stanley Morecambe and Doncaster Rovers Plymouth Argyle games, 2,200 to 200, and we end up as always with our Collis King 6 on Nexa. Fulham to beat Blackpool, Sheffield United to beat Peterborough, Derby County to beat Birmingham, Wigan to beat Cheltenham, and ending up with Glasgow Celtic to beat Dundee United and Glasgow Rangers to beat Ross County, 17 to 1, 3,400 to 200 was our play. That concludes our show for the day, and please remember to stay on side.